Hi everybody, this is Sue at Hometown to Homestead Gal Gardener here on a nice sunny August afternoon. We're working on the side yard today. It's been a hot minute since we've videotaped anything. We've taken on more responsibility of taking care of the aged parents, but we're still keeping on. We're going to come visit Mr. Gardener over here. He's working on these water feed troughs that we have on the property for planting. Hi, Mr. Gardener.
Hello.
What are we doing today?
Well, we're going to plant lettuces in here this season.
Why is that?
Because this doesn't get a lot of sun.
Okay.
A lot of shade, stays cooler, so lettuces should do better.
Okay.
In these.
They didn't do quite as great in the back planting bin?
Not as good, no. Plus,
okay.
I also planted them at the wrong time.
Okay. Yep. Gardening in Arizona is always an experience.
Yeah.
So what are you doing first?
So first thing to do is to drill more drain holes in the bottom of these, because these do not drain well at all.
Okay. Well, they're meant to hold things, so that makes sense.
Hold water. Yeah, exactly. And the soil was all clumped up. So
Old spent soil?
Yeah. So you see all the clumps, so I loosened it up. Loosened it up real good with the shovel.
And the pods in there are pods from the mesquite tree that it's sitting under.
Oh, yeah.
Those will compost in.
Yeah, you're never getting rid of those.
Nope, that's okay.
So what we're going to do is top this off with potting mix, but we're going to make our own potting mix, which, if you want to do that, it's a lot cheaper.
Okay.
A lot cheaper, and that's a lot better, too.
So what goes into making your own potting mix?
So what we're going to do, we have compost from the Arizona Worm Farm.
Arizona Worm Farm, okay.
Compost, peat moss, or you can use either peat moss or coconut coir. So, vermiculite and some 10-10-10 is kind of a general purpose fertilizer. Okay.
And you're going to put it in this cement mixer?
Oh yeah.
Why is that?
Because cement mixer is a lot easier on your back than mixing it in the wheelbarrow, and it mixes it a lot better too.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. So what ratios do you put this in?
This time around we're going to try and mix it about 1-to-1. Compost and peat moss, actually probably 1 to about half. Peat moss, I'm looking at it. And then it's just compost, peat moss, a couple handfuls of vermiculite, and a handful of...
Why the vermiculite?
Vermiculite keeps the soil aerated, keeps it open so it drains.
Okay.
Better. And the peat moss helps hold the moisture in there. There's no nutritional value in the peat moss, so it's just kind of a filler.
Okay.
Yeah, but the compost, of course, is good. That freshens up the soil. And then we're going to mix that. We're going to throw a couple shovelfuls of that soil in there.
Okay.
And mix it real good. Then we'll dump it in the wheelbarrow, dump it in there.
And it's going to be noisy, so I'm going to step back and watch you work for a minute.
Yeah, this is really nice.
It's a cement mixer, folks. That's kind of dusty. Is that normal?
Yeah. peat moss absorbs a lot of water, so you gotta, just to get it moist, you gotta put a lot of water in it. We'll turn it off in a second here, and we'll give it a squeeze, and the moisture drips out of what you squeeze, and you're good. It should just barely plug together.
Oh. That still looks pretty dry from here.
Yeah, it's still pretty dry. It's hot too. So,
Sitting in the sun.
well, yeah, it's Arizona, and it's been sitting in the back of the truck for a couple hours. So.
Pulling it off the back. Is it wetter back there?
Yeah. That's pretty good there.
A little squishy.
Yeah, it was squishy.
I can see it kicking on your hands a little bit there.
We'll run a little bit more peat moss in there. There's no real formula to it. You just kind of do it. On the most of the things on the internet will tell you to use like 2 or 3 or even 4 parts peat moss for compost, which way from what I've planted, it's way too much peat moss. It just doesn't. When you're going to water your plant, the water just sits on top. It takes it a while to soak in. Which isn't good. So we're going to try this.
So the plant's roots aren't getting any water that way?
Yeah, no. Once it does soak in and gets there, I think it probably stays there too long. Although with the citrus trees, it seems to be working pretty good.
Okay. So citrus trees, that's a good mixture. Vegetable plants, not so much.
Yeah, I think I'll put a little more peat moss and a little more vermiculite here.
Smells like soil.
Look in there, if it's too wet, it'll stick to the back of the mixer and it won't do anything. Like now, I just took it down a little further. The mixer's better. All this stuff that was clumped in the back comes forward and falls into the mix. And now,
Gotcha.
I think we're good now.
dark, rich-looking soil.
Yeah.
That ought to grow us something
Yeah,
yummy.
It's just a
Do
little.
that again. Squeeze them a little bit.
Yeah, a
Put them
little
together.
bit. Probably a little too wet, but
That's okay.
it's Arizona. It'll be dry in like 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You have to figure it out. Arizona has so many different climates, and just across from one side of the Phoenix Valley to the other, you can have different, moisture levels in the air even.
Oh,
It's like when everybody else is getting storms, sometimes we're dry as a bone.
Yeah.
And so you just never know. You have to find out what works for your particular area.
Yeah, well, it's just kind of what we're doing. We're just experimenting, see what works. So,
Okay, so now what?
with that, I was going to try and mix it, but
Maybe just top?
yeah, I think I'll just throw it in there.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, if you're in your mid-50s, buy a cement mixer for this. Your back will thank you.
Once again, if you're in your 50s, buy a cement mixer to mix. Your back will thank you, he said. Okay, now on to the next project of the day, Mr. Gardner. What do we got going on?
We have our worm bin experiment that we started earlier in the year. This is a worm composting bin, or vermicomposting. So what we have in the bottom, on the bottom you start with just a sheet of newspaper. There's holes in the bottom of these bins. So you start with a sheet of newspaper and you put peat moss in there. You fill up with peat moss, and in the top you put your composting, like your kitchen scraps, your food waste, your
Bits and pieces.
yeah, bits and pieces. You know, no meat, no onions, no spicy peppers, things like that. Or you can just put in napkins and newspapers. Actually, put shredded newspaper in there. So actually, the top part. See here we have.
Oh, that looks lovely.
Yeah, it looks kind of funky, but these are coffee grounds, shredded newspaper. If you can see, there's a lot of springtails in here.
What's a springtail?
Springtail is a little bug. I don't know if you can see them. See little bugs hopping around in there. Those are okay. Those are
Beneficial?
yeah, those are beneficial composting bugs.
That was really dark.
Yeah. Well, what they do, so you put your compost up here, and the worms, they kind of nest in the bottom. This used to be all coconut coir.
Well, that's a funny little pattern.
Yeah.
From the bottom of the other
That's from the
layer.
bottom. But what the worms do is, oh, there's one right there. See them? Okay, I do have worms in here. That's good.
It's a working.
Yeah. Maybe I got more than I thought. What they do is, this is worm castings.
Okay.
Or worm poop, which is pretty much the best fertilizer you can get.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's why in our gardens, in our raised beds, I have the tubes that go down in the bottom of the garden with holes in them. So we'll put our compost in those tubes, and then I have a bunch of red wigglers in the garden. So those red wigglers will feed and move throughout the garden and just pretty much perpetually fertilize it.
They're doing the same thing this has got going on. Now what's this layer?
This is just the bottom. Oh, that's that's probably really good. Yeah, it's some worms here. You see the bottoms are just like that, so they can drain. You got to keep it moist.
Is it supposed to be dry like that on the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Was that where the spot where if somebody was making worm tea, where it would be?
Yeah, you can soak it. If it gets soaked too much, the water will drain through, and you can use that
Okay.
to.
So what are you doing here?
So over here, what you, in theory, at least what I said, the scene is you go through all your, you kind of sift through it. And the worms don't like the light. So the theory is, keep doing that, the worms will keep going back into the pile.
Okay, so now what are you doing with what you're sifting through?
What we're sifting through, we'll put in another container, then we can use it on whatever we want to use it on. And see, this whole process is something new to me. I've never this before.
They pretty much stand out too because they're red or red-brown.
Yeah. And I've been kind of poking around in here a little for the past few weeks, and I haven't. What's really weird is I haven't seen any in the bottom here. Of course, I guess at the bottom it's just, actually this is.
That's what the instructions tell you
Yeah.
to check the bottom for the castings.
Yeah, yeah, well once there's no more.
There's one.
Oh, here's one, yeah. And these are like, kind of sort of same idea as a nightcrawler, but they're not, oops. You can see they're not as big.
Now what do you do with that?
That we'll just put him back in the top part. So what you can do is say, put this right there. So now, what was the top
I see one right there too.
will become the bottom. Oh yeah. Okay.
It's like that spot you lifted had some in there.
Yeah.
So it's time to rotate the trays.
Yeah. And there's still some
Stuff to break down.
Yeah, there's some banana they didn't get to, but
As far as poop is concerned, it's pretty clean poop.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, of course, I guess if the bottom part was all full of poop, I probably wouldn't spend too much time down there either. But, and you have to, and actually it just keeps its moisture pretty good. I mean,
What's that right in here? Is that anything?
No. There's supposed to be. Yeah.
Now, do they lay eggs?
They are actually hermaphrodites. They're both male and female in one critter.
Okay.
So they get together and they lay a cocoon. And the cocoons will be, they lay tons of, so this, if I knew what I was looking for, I'd probably point it out, but I don't. So there's probably lots of cocoons in here, which is good, because, whatever we...
One right there.
Yeah, it's
Little bitty one.
a little guy, yeah. Actually, we can leave this off, because worms don't like the light, so they'll instinctively go away from it. I think the idea is you take some little bits off the top. Yeah, so here's one. And from what I gather, these guys stay kind of on holy moly.
They're so tiny.
Yeah, they're little. Yeah. These guys will stay up towards the surface. So pretty much where your roots are is where they're moving through the soil, and that's why they're so good for the plants. So I think with the one raised bed in the back that's deeper, that's really deep, I'm gonna I'll go get some night crawlers and put some night crawlers in there, because the night crawlers will go way down deep into the soil and they'll keep that broken up. And
How often are you feeding these bins?
usually about once a month, once or twice a month.
Here's one. Dead center by your thumb. Right hand. Turn that over. There it is.
There it is. Ooh.
I'm looking at it from a different angle than you are.
Yeah.
So the light's catching it different.
You know, let me go get my headlamp and look at this.
There's one there too.
Look at this with some more light. Maybe we can find it.
Picking up more.
Yeah, pick up more. You find cocoons. Let me.
So at the worm farm, did they show you what the cocoons look like?
No, actually, I've seen.
YouTube videos.
Yeah, I watched a lot of videos on YouTube.
Do they kind of look like another lump?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just looks like a little lump.
Oh, there's one. Little bitty guy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm picking up the color.
Yeah. That's what they say. They say they reproduce like crazy. So.
Which any that are left in there after you're moving them to the other trays doesn't matter, because it'll be good for wherever it's going to.
Yeah, yeah. And plus, in the here's another one. And from what what everyone says is, in the summer when it's hot like it is now, you'll get a lot of them will die when it gets really hot like it is, or when it gets really super cold, which it doesn't get that cold.
What's that right there?
In Arizona. Piece of wood. That is. There's wood in here. I don't know what this was. Oh, you know what this is? That's the end of the banana that you.
Oh,
They
interesting.
love bananas. So.
I just saw one near your thumb. You keep coming near them with your right hand. It's funny. It might have dropped back on the table. What's that on the top of the pile? Right there. Just a piece of stuff.
Stuff, yeah. Yeah, so
A lot of little white fibers in this.
yeah, it's probably from the cocoa core or the peat moss. Been using peat moss for things, but I think we'll switch to cocoa core, because that's more. Peat moss is not very environmentally sustainable. Where cocoa core is just a byproduct of when they make stuff out of coconuts. And that's plentiful and replenishable and does the same job.
Or peat bogs take years and years and years to make.
Yeah, yeah. Much as they're depleting, peat bogs don't come back, or will come back quickly. You know, so the theory is, even though there's not finding a lot of worms in here, once the weather cools off, then they should rehatch and come back to normal. I know in the one raised bed in the back there, we have a lot more worms than I thought we would.
poop.
That's a lot of poop. Yeah, I think a normal person probably, I don't know, maybe wear some gloves and fishing poop, a bunch of worm poop, but yeah.
Well, you know what they've eaten, so.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, I want to find a cocoon, but I just don't know what I'm looking for. Is the problem?
Maybe next time you go to the worm farm, ask them.
Yeah. And if you're in Arizona, the Arizona Worm Farm is the neatest place in the world to go. If you're into gardening and compost, stuff like this.
Yeah, they're very into education too, not just sell you what they're making.
Yeah. And a pretty good chance if you go there, usually the guy that's out there asking you questions and showing you stuff is actually the owner and CEO of the place. Here's one. Ooh,
That's a nice big one.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the others.
Yeah.
The little active dude.
Yeah. So that's all they are. They're not very big. Or these guys aren't very big. They get a little bit bigger than this, but not much.
Cool.
Yeah.
He's a little darker than some of those
Yeah.
other ones.
He's trying to get out of the light.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I'm not digging this. So I think what I'll do with this is we have a big stock tub that we use for an herb garden.
Oh, okay.
So I think I will.
Add that in there.
Yeah, well, I'll put the compost that I got for it down. Here's one. And then we'll sprinkle this over the top, and we can. There's another one. Yeah, they may be just down in the middle here where it's cooler, I would assume. Cooler's a little moister.
I wonder if you're finding them closer where a cocoon would be. There's a challenge. Go on YouTube and look up worm cocoons.
Yeah, and tell me how many I'm missing here.
I mean, you're not seeing anything moving.
Yeah. Yeah, and this bin, actually, this bottom part, I started in. Well, I get this for Christmas, so I started this around Christmas time, and we're in August right now, so I really let this. About 3 months, they say, is ideal. So I really let this go.
But you kept feeding it and making sure it was moist the whole time.
Yeah, I kept feeding it. And I'm wondering if because
What is that right there by your pinky.
That.
Yeah.
Huh. Piece of peat moss that's still dry.
Weird.
Peat moss is weird stuff.
I keep seeing things that I think are worms,
Yeah.
and then they tumble through your fingers. So you've come up with 6 or 7. So now this tray that you're emptying now, that'll go on top of the other one
Yeah.
that you're putting the worms into.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you put in the top one after you change them over?
Oh, we'll start putting our composting from the house
Okay.
in there. So what you do
Kitchen
is
scraps?
Yeah, kitchen scraps. But kitchen scraps, and then we'll have a bucket full of shredded newspaper.
Okay.
So put in the scraps, then you put.
There's a big fat one right there.
Come on, dude. Yeah, some of the newspaper.
He's really dark.
Yeah.
He flipped over from the light colored side to a dark colored side.
Yeah.
Leave me alone, he says.
Oops.
Did you miss?
I think I did.
Yeah. There. Now he's up in the bucket. Okay, I'm gonna let you play in the worm poop here. I think I've had enough of looking at this. We get the basic idea, so
Yeah.
then you'll put the empty bucket on top and add newspapers and kitchen scraps and start the process all over again.
Yeah. We'll get some more worm poop
And this just goes in your garage, right?
yeah, keep it in the garage. Keep it.
Keep it moist.
Yeah, keep it moist. And actually, this is a little moister than I thought it would be. But
And you know what? There's no smell. There's no rank smell to this like you would think there would be with decomposing materials.
oh yeah, actually, that's one of the things that they sell you on is if it's working right, there's no smell.
Yeah.
If you have an odor coming out of it, then you've done something wrong. You either got it too wet, or you have too much food in there and it's decomposing.
Have you had that problem as you've been coming along at all?
The first one I did, I tried doing one of these in just a plastic tote container.
Uh-huh.
Didn't have a whole lot of drainage in the bottom. I didn't hardly have any, and it just the top part seemed okay, but the bottom was just
Didn't work.
nasty. Yeah.
Okay.
So I wound up just dumping it. Actually, before I filled in the one raised bed, I dumped that whole thing in the bottom and just
Said enough is enough of that.
yeah.
Okay, well this is Sue from Hometown to Homestead Gal Gardener with Mr. Gardener, Tim, playing in the yard a little bit today with some dirt and some poop.
Yeah, doing some vermicomposting, some making some soil.
And I'm gonna go back in and work on
wait.
some more.
What's that? No.
That's tiny, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's one.
That is a cocoon.
That is a worm cocoon.
That is tiny. Wait a minute, let me see if
Yeah.
I can focus on that. Holy mackerel. Can you get your light on that anymore?
Yeah, no.
Can't move your face any
Closer.
closer.
There you go. Aha!
How do you know that that's one? It just looks like a piece of other bark or whatever.
Yeah, because that looks like the pictures I've seen on
Wow, that's tiny. So now will you move that into the other bucket too?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Although I don't know why
Last minute.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm sorting through this, because worms go in the other planter, and that's not,
Well, you want to
not a problem.
get them up to the maximum use there.
Yeah.
Keep them getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and this is kind of interesting, seeing what I've...
You can see some of what you've put in there.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, there's been a lot of food scraps in here, and the only thing I'm really... Well, there's some pieces of bark, but like I'm finding the very ends of the bananas.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's been banana peels, avocado peels in here, and there's just nothing left.
15 other things.
Yeah, another salad greens and
Stuffs we've cut off.
yeah.
What is that? I see something reddish. Is newspaper?
Yeah, newspaper.
Okay. Sometimes it's hard to tell.
There's one.
Wormy! He says, let me go, let me go.
It's interesting, the newspaper is still relatively intact in the bottom here. Oh yeah.
Weird.
And it says to start it with newspaper on the bottom, but when you switch one from the top to the bottom, there's no newspaper. Well, of course, the top one you wouldn't
There's
want.
one. Right there.
There it is. You wouldn't want newspaper on the top because you want them to move back and forth. There's a couple of them.
Little bitty guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's one.
Yeah.
It's like, where's Waldo? Worm edition.
There's one down there. Yeah, and these are red wiggler composting worms. You can get them online pretty much anywhere. But if you do get them online, make sure, like we're in Arizona here, so you want to make sure that you buy them from someplace that's close. Like I bought worms from one place that's back east, like in Florida, and by the time they got here, everything was dead.
Ah.
So, but there's another place.
Source them as close to
Yeah.
home as you can.
Yeah, I gotta forget.
Here's one.
Yeah, there's another place in the Midwest, that I get them from, through Amazon, and they always get it. Well, they ship like next day overnight, so they get here quick,
That's good.
and they're close, and they're.
Trippy stuff.
Kind of cool.
Be a good experiment with kids.
Oh yeah.
Good kid project, homeschooling project.
Yeah. And actually, way back when, I used to be a plumber, so I'm kind of used to this. So
But this is nothing like human poop.
yeah, no.
Here's a big one.
That one?
Yeah. Had a good circumference. Is that another cocoon?
Where?
What was that you just put in there? A worm or a
Another
cocoon?
worm. Yeah.
So you've pulled quite a few of them out.
Yeah, actually, there's.
And that's just to be able to, feed the bin.
Yeah. They started with 500, I think.
And it's funny how few you see because
Yeah.
they're hiding.
It looks like this is where the food is. So, yeah, can you see all the those little bugs, tiny little white bugs?
I don't know if that's coming out or not.
Yeah, those are the springtails.
You can see the things moving.
Yeah, see, this is. Yeah, see, there's some worms.